You mentioned that you grew up in North Carolina and that he was also from North Carolina. Can you talk about the moment when you realized you may have been kind of circling each other for quite a long
Girl.
time?
So this is when I like for those of you that are not woo, I'm so sorry, but I'm super woo. So apparently the universe has been trying to get us together for a long time. I graduated from high school in 2005 and I got an acceptance letter to a college that I did not apply to. And I got a full ride scholarship to go to this college. And I remember opening it and being like flabbergasted. I was like, I don't even know what this college is. I don't really even know this town. It wasn't too far from my home. And if I could go back and like whisper wisdom into young 18-year-old Esther and my mom, I would have been like, ladies, like get it together. So I got this acceptance letter, and it is the town that Lo is from, and it is the college that he was at the exact same time. So
Wow.
I feel like the universe was like, come on, y'all, we want you to meet. I mean, we talk about it all the time, though. If we had met at that exact time, we probably would have just been like, nah, you're good. Because we were such opposites at that point. But then a few years later, he actually moved to the town where I was in school and was a bartender at a club that my friends and I used to frequent. So
That's so
I'm
crazy.
sure he's poured my drinks before. And then years later after grad school, I moved to New York to teach at Columbia as an adjunct professor and to be a nanny for my cousin. And we lived down the street from each other at the same time. He was living with his cousin, and I was living with my friend in East Harlem, and he was in West Harlem. And I was just like, the universe was definitely like doing some weavings, but it makes me feel really this sigh of relief also. As much as we kept missing each other, it was like the universe kept being like, okay, they're not ready. You're not ready. And then we met in Thailand when we were ready, and
Yeah.
I think about who we were then also. Neither of us would date the versions of us from back then, but we just so beautifully have like calibrated together and grown together and like allowed ourselves to release old versions of ourselves. And that's the thing, that the deepest gift I think of our relationship is just as we allowed ourselves to be who we said we were then, we continue to do that now in each iteration, and we continue to change hobbies and friendships and desires and the ways that we outwardly manifest who we are, and we both continue to just let us be who we are. We don't hold on to the old version. So if like last year he was into something, I'm not like, oh, I miss who you were when you did X. It's more I'm appreciative of that version of you, but I'm so appreciative of this new version of you. And it's like, because we both allow each other that space, we both can continue to grow without feeling constricted.
It's so beautiful. And I love when you mention who you were before you guys met, even though you were in the same areas, wouldn't have been people that you necessarily would have maybe caught your eye or even like just been interested in the way that they were presenting themselves. What do you think it is about the act of having been in Thailand in and of itself? What do you think having been in a different country and this person you have been kind of circling around unknowingly for so long? What do you think about being in a different country that helped you kind of open up to
A
him
hundred
or open up to
percent.
the idea of him?
And I talk about this a lot, not necessarily about with Low, but just in general, what each country has done for me. And like for me, South Africa is where I healed some ancestral wounds that I had and like got to heal my root chakra and like sacral chakra energies. And then moving to Thailand was inner child healing. I was just frolicking. I was free. I was like, I'd released these expectations that society had of me. So I was just showing up unfiltered, and it was messy and it was raw and it was just who I was. And I feel like it was similar for Lo. He had moved to Kuwait before, right before he moved to Thailand. And that was where he kind of first did some healing of some things that he was going through in America. And then in Thailand, it was kind of the same. So we kind of met each other in this really beautiful moment of, it wasn't our first country abroad. So I think that also had something to do with it. Like if we had met in our first countries, there might have been more friction, not
Mhm.
necessarily with each other, but just there's friction the first time you leave your home, because there's so much you don't realize is conditioning, or there's so much you don't realize that is your comfort zone. You don't really know what your comfort zone is until you come out of it a lot of times. And so we both had kind of already done that. So it was like we met each other in this really free state. And then Bali, I always say, is where we've done most of our like coming into our spiritual gifts and like being really comfortable with who we really are. We're more in like our, our third eye and like our throat chakras and our crown chakras. It's kind of like this is we get to kind of like play in who we are.